You join me back up at Oxford, where they tell me the fish have finished spawning, so hopefully they're going to be up for a munch. Welcome to the Journeyman's Tales. Well, as time marches on, it does seem to take longer and longer to get stuff together these days, but we're finally done. Got the rods out first, put 25 spods out, and I'm not very good at counting spods. I tend to put mixes out more than the number of spods. Got the camp all sorted up, had a bit of a rest, and I've done my tea now, settled down for the evening. Bit of a new baiting approach for this trip, just to ring the changes, and I'll tell you all about that tomorrow, hopefully after a successful night. You never know. But I did have a wander around. It's quite busy up here, it's not as bad as it was last time, but they do say that the fish have finished spawning, and quite a few have been coming out. So I hope we can get on that bandwagon. Anyway, I'm going to eat this, and I'll see you in the morning, if not before. There we go. How about that? It's about 10:30, Monday evening, left hand rod with a new baiting tactic, 28 pounds and 14 ounces. I am delighted with that, to say the very least. How about it? Cracking start. I hope there's a few more of these out there. Terrific. There we go. Just literally putting the other one back, and the right hand rod went off. £27, 12 ounces. Brilliant. So the new plan is producing, and you'll get all the information in the morning. But yeah, thrilled with that. Give you a quick flash of the other side. Marvellous. I've got to get the rods in to get some more, I think. Lovely. Well, that was a hectic start to the night, wasn't it? I'm literally putting that 28 back, and the right hand rod roared off with the 27. I was absolutely banjaxed by the time I finished sorting that lot out. Body was aching from top to bottom. But the left hand one was on the worm rig, and the right hand one was on the tiger nut tipped with a bit of corn. And that's the basic change, really. I've gone from the major boilie approach to, I thought I'd go back to particles a little bit. I mean, the worm is new. If anybody saw the Blackthorn Pine video where I started using worms there with that nightmare rig with the bait band. But I've gone on to the standard sort of kebab rig that they use a lot in Tench, and it's a much easier deal. And I just make up a little braided link that I can fit on one of my standard wafted rigs. So that produced the first fish, the 28, and then nothing special, wafted rig with a tiger nut with a bit of cork in it and a pop up bit of corn on it, so it's just sitting on top of the hook flat on the bottom basically. And those are the ones that went. The middle rod I was fishing the good old Terry Hearn artificial caster rig, because that's what's going in the mix in the main that's new. A lot of caster and a lot of chopped up dendrobinas. There's a little bit of boilie, chopped up boilie in the mix, but not a huge amount. I'm not going to stray too far from boilies, but I'm not actually putting boilies out there. So you've got loads of hemp, loads of maize, a fair bit of crushed peanut in there, and a couple of handfuls of tiger nut in the mix. So it is mainly a particle mix. Say a little bit of chopped boilie. I'm not going to stray too far from it, but I'm going to kind of little and often. I just put another 10 spods out this morning. Needless to say, nothing for the rest of the night. Certainly not the first thing this morning. They are bubbling again a little bit out there, not a huge amount. And I have just refreshed the worm rod. What was beginning to play on my mind was maybe smaller fish might have picked the worms off the barbecue, but that, off the kebab rig, but that obviously wasn't the case. So a bit more relaxed about leaving that out for a length of time. But I have replaced the Terry Hearn rig in the middle with a wafter. So we'll see where we go today. But it is freezing. I don't know what happened to all that hottest day of the year lark. Yeah, major drop in temperature. I wouldn't exactly say we're on the east side of the country where they're saying it's colder, but there you go. It's quite nobbling really. But yeah, buoyed with catching a couple of fish. Feeling good about life. There you go. The very thing I was dreading becomes a reality. Obviously need to check it a bit more often. Although it was out there for a fair number of hours before that 28 turned up. Well, here we are coming into Tuesday evening, and yeah, crazy quiet day. The bubbling did continue on and off, but what it is, I've got no idea. I haven't seen anything show in the area, put it that way. But then the last time we were here, and a few times before, I've had slick coming off the bait and still nothing. So more questions than answers to that one. Now I've got to wait till just as it's getting dark to change the left hand rod and redo that kebab rig, because I've lost faith in it now, because something is obviously removing the worms. They don't tell you that in the how-to videos. So they did stay on long enough in the dark for the carp to find it. So hopefully, whatever it is, whether it is nuisance fish, I don't think it's crazy, I think it is nuisance fish. They'll push off when the light goes. Anyway, that's the plan at the moment. I was going to do a bit of a review on this thermocell, which I've used at this time of year to keep the gnats and the mosquitoes away, but I'm sitting here with 2 hoodies on and my thermal top. I think all the gnats and the mozzies all hibernating somewhere waiting for it to warm up, because it is quite cold. For June it's ridiculously cold. But there we are. Anyway, quiet day. Let's hope something turns up at bite time again like last night, 10:30ish. And I just hope they're around that sort of stamp. I'll be well happy. Oh, and that was a rat. Happy times. That's the kebab rig that's going out for the night. Now what I've done there is I've taken off the black foam and put on a cut down crab pop-up. I've checked that in the margins, and it's, when there's no worms on it, it just sits up like a Ronnie rig. It's not buoyant enough to take the rig up without the worms 7 inches off the bottom. So that's perfect. If they get all the worms off, then that is still technically fishing. So then we just got to fill it up with worms. Move that bead back. So put in a baiting needle into there, and then kebab the worms. If they're long worms, rather than cut them to start with, I just fold them over. It has to be said, this is rather messy. It's a darn sight easier than trying to stick them through one of those ridiculous bait bands. And you have to thank the tench anglers for this one, I think. All very clever tench anglers. And just there you go. So even if all those worms are nibbled off by, I'm assuming, nuisance fish, not crayfish, but if you want to cut where you've got looped on ones, if you want to cut them, perfect. And then to put her out, she's just going out with a small bag of 2mm pellet on it. Right, that's going out now, and it's bound to catch something, isn't it? Here she is, 25 pounds and 10 ounces. Well, good morning. The pattern seems to be repeating itself. Just the one run. I think it was about 12 o'clock-ish, just before maybe. And that cracking 25, and it went off like stink. It went off to my, well, it was on the right-hand rod, so it went off to the right anyway. And it must have gone past the island, and just on the front edge of that island is a massive bank of weed there in shallow water, and it took a while to turn it and get it back out of there, and then it was still really active all the way in, really. Cracking fight would have made a lovely bit of footage, but there you go. That's what happens in the night. You just can't do anything about it. But yeah, did all the business, filmed it, and I was just putting it back, turned around to have a sit down, and the rod went off again, but I pulled into it and there was nothing there. Now I got a sneaking feeling it might have been the fish. When I put it back, it swam off to the right, but I think it might have kited back in front of the rods and possibly given me a liner, but I didn't feel anything. So that was it, basically, but nothing in this morning. There's the odd bit of bubbling. It's difficult to say because the wind is off my back and it's rippling it up. But yeah, a shame about the kebab rig, really, because every time I put it in the water since I had that fish opening night, it's just getting mullered. And they, as I said earlier on, they don't tend to mention that when they're telling you how wonderful the rig is. And what it is, I'm assuming it's nuisance fish. I was hoping it might have slowed down after dark, but it didn't. When I checked it after I'd had that 25, it had gone completely. So I put a wafter on it, which is what the 25 took. Now I got flaming tufties diving on the bait now. But this morning I've gone for a bit of change of tactics. I've been sitting in the bivvy spraying out boilies with the catapult. Just a couple every now and again, trying to keep the birds away from it. Now I'm sitting here talking to you, they're out there on it. So I'll get back on the tufty torch in a minute, try and break their habit. So I'm going to keep spraying a few of those around in the area. So I've got a fairly large baited area, and then mid-morning I'll put out half a dozen spombs of the mix that's been going out there, except that all the worms will be chopped up and they'll be going in the mix. And then I'll put some more out again tea time, and then hopefully on the final night we might be able to get them. They're obviously in transit, moving backwards and forwards, not there during the day. They're actually moving through there in the outer darkness, but there's got to be more than one of them moving through there, and it's just a case of trying to get them to stay around and feed for a bit longer. So I might pick up a few more of them, but hopefully that wider spread of boilies might do the job, but I don't know. Well, that's handy. We now got the swans spooping off the tufties, which is nice. Anyway, that's the plan. I'm going to keep sprinkling them out, say mid-morning, put a few spombs out. Put a few spombs out later on, and another one, maybe two, would be really nice, because the weights are really good. Happy times. At least I'm catching. That's the key to it all, isn't it? Can't learn if you're not catching. You can actually buy some multi-bladed scissors if you intend doing a lot of this stuff, unlike me. And I have actually upped the boilie contents for these mixes now in an effort to try and stop these transient carp and get them to hang around and feed for a bit. And there's the bloodworm syrup. Oh, there's enough there for about 6 bombs now. It's about 11 o'clock, and then I'll put the same in again 4 or 5 o'clock tonight, ready for the mass feed this evening. Well, for this evening's feed, I've put a good dollop of bloodworm syrup in the mix just to see if that might add a little something. It's still been bubbling out there, up and down that deeper water, but it's obviously fairly meaningless. Well, we're now into the last evening. I've just fed the fish. I've put in another 10 or 12 spoms, plenty of chopped worm in there because I've given up with the kebab rig, plenty of casters, all the rest of the hemp and the maize and the chopped nuts as well. I've also this afternoon been spraying around with the cat pulp, some boilie to enlarge the area where the food is. So we've got a concentrated area where I've been spomming out, and then a larger area around it where I've been spraying boilies, and I'm going to continue to do that during the course of the evening. And I'm working on the premise that they're coming through during the hours of darkness, and there's been no showing at all in front of me or off the end of the island. Normally you can see something moving off the end of the island, but there's nothing at all, so I'm assuming they're coming down here after dark. I'm assuming there's more than just a couple of them, because if there were only a couple of them I've been very lucky. So I'm accepting the fact that they're going to be coming down here more banded. I've put more food in a bigger area, if you like, try and concentrate in here for a little bit longer, catch more fish. That's the theory. So I'm going to have my tea. Next time we chat, we'll be in the middle of the night with another whacker. So this is the final morning, and we didn't get to speak last night. We could have done. I could have been ranting and raving for hours, but I didn't. I did get that run, but by the time I got to it, it had buried itself solid in weed off to my right now. You have to excuse my ignorance. I don't know what it is. It's really long and absolutely thick out there. And it completely and utterly buried itself in that. If you look at it when the sun is actually out, it looks like a gravel bar, but it's not. It's a massive thick bed of weed, brownish in colour. Anyway, it buried itself in there, gone absolutely solid. I did tighten down to it for a while. I couldn't feel anything moving, and left it for a little bit on a tight line, no movement at all, and then I just slowly pulled, and it did actually come free. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your outlook, the fish had managed to get rid of the hook, so I did bring back the hook, which was good. I didn't leave a fish out there with a hook in it, but that was it. So the plan of putting out a bit more bait and stopping and the shoal and getting them to feed didn't work. So, but I don't understand what was going on then, really. it can only be the odd one or two just moving through. But if I understood what was going on, I'd probably write a book about it and make a fortune. But that's a rat, for pity's sake. Yeah. Anyway, that's me done. I'm going to finish this coffee. I'm going to slowly start packing away, heading down the motorway. Thanks for your company on this Journeyman's Tales, and I'll catch you all again soon. Cheers for now.